Hey everyone, Ryan here, we're M&R Productions, and if you don't know me, I might be the biggest LEGO Star Wars fan you don't meet. I collect it all, except for the pens. Who collects pens? Anyway, about 2 months ago, there was a Reddit post titled, "I finally got my hands on this book after a year of searching. 20 years of design, the stories behind the models, more info below," by Trooper and I was immediately intrigued by this book. I knew I had to have it. It felt like a great coffee table piece for my future house, and I had never seen this book before, more importantly. How I had never seen this book before was beyond me because, like I said, huge LEGO Star Wars fan, and somehow I just didn't know this thing existed. Well, it turns out that there are two versions of this book. There's a version in Czech, and there's a version in English. And the only information I have on the release of it is that apparently the Czech version was given to some LEGO employees, and that the English version was available in Slovenia with Millennium Falcon purchases for like a weekend one time, or something to that effect. That is the only info as far as the availability of this book that I know off the top of my head. Now, the guy who had this particular one said he bought it for about $50. And now that does seem expensive for a little book, and it really is for what it actually is materialistically. The cost of the materials is not $50, but for something that there probably are less than 1,000 of, that is pretty fair for a collectible thing like LEGO Star Wars, especially for something that seems like it's supposed to be a nice collector's book. Finding one wouldn't be easy, given that, like I said, there's probably less than 1,000, and I mean, when I say less, I mean probably way less than 1,000, given how it's literally not for sale anywhere ever, or at least I hadn't seen it for sale, and so I asked in a video, as I do. I fortunately have a large audience of other LEGO Star Wars fans who sometimes know about things that I don't and have things that I don't, and I was like, does anyone have one of these, and would they sell it to me? And at least one person, if not more, I can't remember exactly, did get back to me, but the version or versions that they had were in Czech, and it was about $100, I think, and I couldn't do it. I didn't want a version that I couldn't actually read with my own eyes, and I wasn't going to learn Czech. I know, there's apps and stuff for that, but I just wasn't interested in it. I thought if I had the book, I had to have the English version so that I can just have it, right? And so I kind of went on with my life and thought I just wouldn't get it. And not 3 weeks later, perhaps, at the end of May, I am on Mercari. If you don't know, Mercari is kind of like eBay, except it's only buy it now. And I always search newest first, and just listed LEGO Star Wars 20 Years of Design book, $150. And so, of course, I bought it. And so in today's video, I'm going to show you every page of this book, because I think that's an important thing to share with everybody, because the person who found it and shared it on Reddit originally, I don't believe ended up posting all of the pages, so I'm going to share them all with you so that you can all enjoy what I got to enjoy, if you want to call it enjoying it, because the book isn't as cool or as in-depth as I was hoping. It is a little bare bones. It's a little, hey, you probably already knew this, we design our models based off the movie. Like, it's that kind of information. Like, yeah, okay, thank you. Like, I knew that. 1 + 1 = 2. What's new? I shouldn't be too hard on it. It's just a little coffee table book. But I do wish there were more books like this that gave more in-depth of a feel to LEGO Star Wars, with more, like, behind-the-scenes and prototype building images. Like, that would be such a cool coffee table book. LEGO, I want to help you make the book. Please, I want to help you make that book. It would be such a cool book to have, like, as something you sell to the masses as like a coffee table book. Kind of like the Apple design book that they did a few years back, except maybe not for like $300, maybe like for $30, because the Apple one was way too expensive. 20 Years of Design, the stories behind the model, limited edition. Let's get started, shall we? The opening cover has the Millennium Falcon kind of stencil outline there, and then we have the 20th anniversary logo, and then below it, it says 20 years ago, ... Very ominous in space there. Flipping the page will lead us to About the Design Team. It says, LEGO Star Wars started in 1999, and we have been making new models for the product line every year since. There's a bit more about the design team there if you want to pause and read it specifically. They go on to talk about the Ultimate Collector series, though, giving them the opportunity to make complicated models with special attention to accuracy and details. These models are fun and exciting to develop, as well as a huge challenge, and we hope the book gives you some insight into our creative process. And then the next image is a image of the design team, I would assume from 2019 there, and then you can, I guess, look up all their names if you really want to for whatever reason. But the next page, goes in and talks about inspiration for some of their models and such. And to me, this is where this book kind of falls apart. It talks about their inspiration being from many sources, websites, books, and other materials. But when designing models, we always use official reference supplied by Lucasfilm. Like, to me, it just, I mean, while the imagery here is beautiful, the quotes that we'll get in a lot of these, to me, are kind of saying nothing that we didn't already know, and there's just nothing special about that. I was really hoping that some of this stuff would be perhaps, you know, here with the TIE Fighter, we get some of the technical challenges and what went wrong and how they fixed it type of stuff, but instead it's just when designing the TIE Fighter, I used both pictures and sketches, as well as the movies, in order to catch the right size, proportion, and important details. I mean, of course they used those things to get the correct proportion, size, and details. What else would they have used? And they did a really good job at it. Hey, I just don't get a lot of value out of this. This is still a neat coffee table book, but like I said, it's just not going to give you a whole lot here that you probably didn't already know. Maybe there's some cool Star Wars images that you like here. It says here, for the old Star Wars movies, we use mainly film stills or photos from production directly from Lucasfilm. At that time in the film industry, behind the scenes documentation was not as complete as it is nowadays, which makes it a bit harder for us to collect all the accurate references. So maybe that's the most out there quote in this whole book that we might not have known about for what they do for older stuff that they don't have all the references for. There's a nice shot of the Y-Wing in a hangar. There's just another shot of that 2012 X-Wing for some reason, not the UCS one. Also not the 2018 one, which would have been the most recent version at that time. It's a little confusing there to me. Speaking of the UCS X-Wing, hello beautiful. Very cool set from 2013. Right here, all the set number and the name. With the Ultimate Collector Series, we have the opportunity to make bigger, more challenging models with special attention to accuracy and details. Now, you tell me, where have we heard that before? This book is, wow, man. I wish I could create a book like this, but like have all the information to make it better. Regardless, some nice pictures of more UCS and, in my opinion, Master Builder Series set here with the Ewok Village. So quite a weird, you know, I think you should have put Darth Vader's TIE Fighter with the AT-ST and then like a Star Destroyer there. Like, why not do an Imperial page? You know, just weird stuff. Here we have, speaking of Star Destroyer, Super Star Destroyer from 2011. I do like that they have the years on this. A lot of time, LEGO won't put the years next to their stuff, I think, but I do like that they add the year next to the set number. You can see it with the Death Star there, and then the B-Wing at a pretty crazy angle here, and I guess you have to flip the page to make it look normal because they did not flip the cockpit to orient it properly upwards, although I guess that doesn't really matter in space. It just looks weird when it's 90 degrees to the right. The quote here is about the Super Star Destroyer, and the biggest challenge with this model was the sheer size. It is the longest Star Wars model made in LEGO bricks, measuring over 124 centimeters, and it contains 3,152 pieces. So there's some nice quick info. Next page about the AT-AT. Well, not the UCS AT-AT you wish it was about, but a UCS AT-AT from 2007, or at least at the time what they considered to be UCS. I really wouldn't count this one in, even though it does get the set number for it. It doesn't have a plaque, and it doesn't like meet the size of what you would expect to be UCS. There we have another quote here about the Snowspeeder, and I feel like this quote does fit particularly well with the Snowspeeder because of how hard they had to work, I assume, to get even the proper angles on the cannons, because these cannons aren't straight on the Snowspeeder. They were in the 2003 version, but in this one they actually fixed it. They're actually supposed to have a slight angle inward, and that actually worked out really well there. See the AT-ATs looming in the background as well on that page. Next up, the Sandcrawler page. Absolutely love this page, 75059 Sandcrawler from 2014. Big quote about the Sandcrawler here. It says, we often build the most iconic Star Wars vehicles in many different scales. For example, the Jawa Sandcrawler we've done in many different sizes, spanning from tiny micro build to a massive UCS set, which is pretty appropriate. Very cool vehicle from Star Wars. You get some nice sketch drawings there. The concept art. Next page about model making says these larger models allow for more complex building techniques and levels of detail, which I love building into the models I work on. Like, this quote is, I don't know who this is, but like, it's not adding anything. It's intuitively obvious to the casual observer what the larger models are for. Thanks for telling us. Tell us something we don't know is kind of what I'm getting at once again with this book. It has the potential to be such a great, informative, unique book, and it kind of falls flat on that front, but still lots of shot of the UCS Falcon, the Death Star, and the Y-Wing there. There's the 2018 UCS Y-Wing, one of the cooler UCS sets as well, in my opinion. opinion. It says, even though this model is mainly intended for display, the designer managed to include some really cool function like retractable landing gear and swiveling ion cannons. Love those ion cannons on top of the Y-Wing, one of my favorite features of the Y-Wing, and certainly in the video games from like Battlefront 2 back in 2005. Definitely love switching into that and shooting people behind me. There's some other shots of the regular playset Y-Wing. Not really sure, again, why they didn't go with what at the time would be the newer version or the UCS version. It's just another weird thing about this book, quirks, but whatever. 2012 X-Wing makes another random appearance. Seems to just kind of fit its way into wherever they needed it to in this book. The next page shows off some graphic design stuff about minifigures and all of the aspects about that. You can see some of the sketches that they do, or some of the finalized drawings really for some of the main characters there. And then they just have a bunch of different minifigs here on the right. I want to say this is the 2018 minifigure lineup, 2018 and 2019, although it definitely seems to be kind of mixed in with some other stuff. You can definitely see some stuff from like 2012 there with Bib Fortuna and the Gamorrean Guard, but still the 20th anniversary collectible figures there on the right. Next page is about the Slave 1. It says, this is the largest, most detailed LEGO Slave 1 so far. It definitely is a very great set, and more true to the original than previous versions. In fact, the size of the model makes it both a collector series model and a playset because it's actually in minifigure scale. So there they are, referencing minifigure scale. It's not something they ever really specifically go for as far as I'm concerned, but sometimes it can just kind of happen, and this Slave 1 is a great example of that just kind of happening, so that's great. But moving on from the Slave 1, they have more pictures of the playset Slave 1s next to the UCS one, and then you get some factoids about the difference from the 2000 version of the Slave 1, which was the first one that came out, and the 2019 version, which is, I guess, the second most recent version that has come out now, with a new version coming out August 1st, 2021. Here's another shot of the beautiful Millennium Falcon with the quote saying, "It is the most iconic and popular ship in Star Wars films." This model is by far the most detailed LEGO Millennium Falcon ever made. Also holds true, definitely very detailed. And then you get a bunch of the interior and a couple of exterior shots showing how they can change it from the episode 456 version to the episode 789 version of the Falcon, and some more facts about it with the piece count and whatnot. The next page goes in depth on most of the Millennium Falcons ever made. Definitely leaves out a few of the smaller micro build ones, but still from the year 2000 to the year 2003. I love that mini one, by the way. 2004's version of the Falcon, definitely a very cool one. 2009 saw our one and only MIDI scale Falcon. 2011, probably the best playset Falcon in my opinion. I love that one. 2014, we saw the Microfighter. 2015, we got the Force Awakens version. 2018, we saw the version from Solo: A Star Wars Story. Of course, 2007 there, almost skipped over it. We saw the UCS one originally introduced, and it's missing because this book came out probably before it released. The 2019 Rise of Skywalker Falcon there. The Death Star, which I don't really consider a UCS set, but it definitely fits in the design idea. It is one of the biggest LEGO sets in their Star Wars assortment. We did already know that. And then this is a good quote here. It says, "I used the 2 movies featuring both Death Stars plus all the screenshots I could make or find to get an overview of the rooms and scenarios." So there you go, a little backstory on the Death Star, I suppose. Very great playset, definitely one of the all-time playsets LEGO has ever made. And we get more minifigs specifically for these 2 pages, the Death Star minifigs, and lots of them. There are plenty of Death Star minifigs because they needed them for all of the compartments and rooms on the Death Star. And then we have some mini facts about Jar Jar Binks being the first minifigure to have a specially molded head. Very nice. And then Yoda here, the first minifig with short legs. So if you didn't already know that, that is also included in this book. And then finally, we have character models with the Darth Maul bust, definitely an awesome character model that we've had. R2-D2, Yoda, the Porg, and BB-8 here. Certainly a line that LEGO has continued since the release of this book, and they certainly will continue in the future. Very nice subline of LEGO Star Wars sets. And then finally here, we have what I think is the most interesting part of this entire book. Not the back page, I'm kidding. They have a list of what I believe they consider to be Ultimate Collector Series officially from 1999 to 2019. Now, I haven't referenced this with other times they have come out and said things officially about what they would say is UCS, but yeah. So we have the years in red, and then we have the set names in white with the set numbers, and you can get an idea of what they would consider to be UCS. So like I said, I wouldn't call this UCS, and neither do they. It's not listed here under the year 2007 as UCS. Pause if you want to see any specific years for what you think should have something as UCS under it. Even Assault on Hoth still makes the UCS moniker. But then oddly enough, the 2018 Betrayal at Cloud City is listed as UCS. When they released that set, it was a Master Builder Series set, and it had a Master Builder Series thing on it. So I don't know, this is all a bunch of nothing to me, because clearly there are a lot of inaccuracies and things that they just haven't thought out well enough that need to be thought through more carefully for people like me, clearly. So yeah, that is the book for the 20 years of design, the stories behind the models. Neat coffee table piece. I think it just looks cooler as a closed book on a coffee table. I probably won't be opening it again for quite a while. I don't really have any reason to, other than to maybe reference what they consider to be UCS and find flaws in it. Hopefully this video helped you get an idea of what's in this book. Filming this was a bit difficult, so hopefully you could bear with the way it was filmed. I tried my best. So if you guys enjoyed, hit the like button.